You guys hear me?
Yeah. Hello and welcome to the Sac Off podcast. We're back once again. And on this episode, we're going to talk about many things, including DeMarcus Cousins, Achilles injury, the upcoming schedule for the next 3 days, well, next three games, and of course, joining us today is our good friend at Fly By Night, Justin Russo. Justin, how are you doing today? Whoop. Uh,
Can you
yeah.
guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, sorry. I'm trying to fix something on my end. I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
I'm
Did you make
surviving.
it? Yeah. Did you make it through all the firings going on in the NFL?
Did what happen now?
Did you make it through all the firings in the NFL?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening in the NFL today, I guess.
No trades though.
Uh,
Instead of
so the
trades, firings.
the Vernon Davis thing was yesterday, right?
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
doesn't really count.
Yeah, I'm not gonna count that. That's good for Denver though.
Yeah.
And they almost got Joe Thomas, but there seemed to be some things stop that.
I'm
Multiple
telling
reasons.
I'm telling you, I tweeted out the real story of what happened. People check it. It's a good real story.
Okay.
What was the real story?
It was linebacker Joe Thomas from the Packers and Green
Okay.
and Ted Thompson was
We got
posing as
them.
Ray Farmer. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Did you
Denver
see the,
realized last
did,
second.
did you guys see the funny stuff with 49ers Twitter today?
No.
No.
There was basically I guess there's this father and this son who like write for the same newspaper or something in San Francisco,
Oh,
and I guess they're kind of like, for lack of a better word, disrespectful to people. So I can't say what I really want to say, but so I'm just gonna say they were disrespectful to people. But yeah, apparently they were going at a fan today, and she snided back. She was like, "I could have had your job. I have the email to prove it, and I turned them down." So she was basically like, "Don't tell me what's going on. Like I know what's going on more than you do."
it was, yeah,
I
those.
mean, anytime someone pulls the "I turned down the job you could have had," like the job that you have card, like who's ever being told that should probably not respond.
Yeah, and those that was the Cohn family,
Oh,
Cohn.
yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's who it is, the Cone family,
The good old the Cones. It's makes sense.
right?
Yeah. So on today's show, we're going to be talking a lot about the NBA. Past week, Sacramento Kings obviously faced twice against the LA Clippers. The second game was more entertaining than the first. But of course, we brought Justin on here today to talk about the Clippers matchup against Sacramento that went on, what he saw, and so much more. So that's what we'll start off. Justin, you want to lead off?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like I know you said the first game wasn't as close, but Sacramento, they don't give up, and like that's the only thing I keep thinking about the Clippers' first four games is three of them were, including last night against Phoenix and the two against Sacramento. It's like they played two teams who should be good and they didn't give up, which is like a big deal. So for the Clippers, on the Clipper side against Sacramento, uh, what I really took away from it is in the second game, if George Karl had played Willie Cauley Stein more in the first game, like he did in the second game, it could have been different. I don't think Kufis and Cousins can really play together all that much, so Cauley Stein and Cousins made more sense, like in game one or game two, I mean. So yeah, for as the Kings always give the Clippers problems though. I don't know what it is. I think it's just maybe the Clippers don't get up for the games as much, or maybe Cousins really wills his team that much. But it seems like the Kings always give the Clippers some fits.
Well, in that first Clippers game, the Kings were, I think, they were just two behind with like 2 minutes to go, right? And then, and it was like the last 4 minutes they were kind of that close, and then Rondo came on, and they just started sagging off Rondo and doubling Boogie, and there's like that turnover, or there was a Rudy ISO, and then the turnover where it's baseline pass
Yeah,
by
the one
Boogie,
that
and then
Austin Rivers stole.
yeah. So there's like a couple of times where just like, and maybe that's just not like, although kind of later on we've seen Rondo in clutch lineups and it's worked better, but that just seemed weird because Rondo wasn't the primary ball handler in any of those possessions.
Right,
And
and
then he was,
The Clippers don't respect him.
no,
I mean, that was the interesting thing about the second matchup is they were playing him the same exact way, and he was just hitting jumpers.
he did that
So
against the Lakers as well.
yeah, he did.
He
I
was
saw
really
that
hitting his
game.
strike.
Yeah,
But I think he was getting into the lane as well a lot better, where he wasn't really aggressive the first game.
yeah. The first game he seemed almost very hesitant to do too much, which could just be because he didn't want to step on people's toes or something.
It doesn't really sound like he's afraid of doing that from like
No,
all the reports from.
yeah, no, it doesn't sound like him, but I mean,
Yeah,
you never know. First game of the season with a new set of team is like, yeah, preseason's one thing, but I mean, maybe he just felt, hey, it's DeMarcus's team. I don't want to take the ball out of his hands, and same thing with Rudy, because as you said, Rudy ISO'd a ton at the end of game one.
and they did that at the Clippers a little bit. The second game as well. There's
Yeah,
like a couple of.
yeah. When Sacramento moved the ball, they were doing things, and their problem, at least against the Clippers in the two games, was when the ball stuck on one side of the court, they had nothing. And when they moved the ball, they had a lot of things. So for Sacramento going forward, at least from what I can tell, as long as you keep moving the ball and work both sides of the court, it's going to work.
I think what they're kind of with the what was it with the first game, that first quarter I think was the bit that was like really bad, and it's been interesting. I think it's like Carl said they ran too many plays from the sideline, and Vlade I think yesterday said something along the lines of, "Oh, we were trying to do like 100 different things at once." So maybe they just kind of were like trying to get out sets, see what worked instead of just, and then when they just like kind of let them do whatever, and maybe that's kind of like freed Rondo up as well, where he wasn't just trying to execute what's being called.
Yeah, I could really buy into that. I mean, the first game, even the first couple weeks of a season, I kind of don't take too much like for instance with the Clippers, I'm not taking too much out of the fact they're struggling from three because they're getting a ton of wide open shots and eventually you hit those. So it's like the first month of the season, about 2, 3, 4 weeks, you kind of just go with whatever's happening because you figure that everyone who's good is going to eventually still be good. So that's probably what it is with the Kings is maybe they just tried, as you said, doing too much early on, and it could have just hampered them in that first game. Because the second game they looked way better.
Yeah, they probably missed out on, I think it was like in the second quarter when the Clippers bench wasn't getting any good looks, and the Kings were getting good looks, but they just weren't dropping, and so it was like they just couldn't get past like push the 14-point lead any further, and then that just disintegrated.
Yeah, the Clippers' second unit is a sight to behold offensively. So it's weird. Like they're fine defensively. They just cannot score. And then, but even last night against Phoenix, I don't know if you guys watched that game. They would somehow go through a spurt where it was like they could score, and they would get stops, and then all of a sudden they just couldn't score anymore.
The
So,
mini Austin Rivers.
well, yeah, it's funny because the one thing with him is going back to game one against Sacramento, 90 seconds to go, Doc Rivers put him into the game, and that's why he got the steal. So, and then he called it. Then after Austin Rivers got the steal, Doc called the timeout and took him out. So it's almost like it was literally a defense for offense substitution. So it makes you wonder, like, does he really trust Austin Rivers that much to get a stop and pretty much nobody else? Because he did it last night to Phoenix too. He put Austin Rivers into the game late for defensive stops.
And
So
doesn't trust him to take any, and doesn't trust him to take a smart shot as well. Maybe that says.
well, the cool thing, it's funny. The cool thing with Austin, and the one thing I have to give him credit for, he tries to get to the rim, and he does get to the rim. Nobody else on the team, in terms of guards, does that. Like Lance kind of can, but nobody else really does it. Like Chris can get to the rim, but he doesn't do it. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I like Austin. I'm really partial to him, so who knows? We'll see.
And when you bring up kind of like not getting to the rim, there was like one stat that the Kings have where I think they're giving up like 76% within 5 feet of the basket, and because the Lakers were just shooting jump shots as well, so I think that's just all lobs and dunks by the Clippers.
The Lakers.
Yeah, we don't really need to talk about the Lakers, do we?
No. I mean, it's bad because I watch, like you guys know, I watch a ton of basketball. So when I watched that game, Kings Lakers, I was just sitting there kind of laughing because the Kings were like, it didn't matter what the Lakers tried to do. The Kings were just getting whatever shot they
Yeah.
really wanted, you know. So that's kind of how I view it. Is if you play the Lakers, you're kind of just padding stats after a while.
They were almost like passing too much in the paint. They would like go one like an extra pass just to get like it was just
Yeah, it
it's
was.
kind
It
of
was.
like
It's kind of like, oh, I had my shot last possession. You can take this
yeah.
one.
It's like
You
no
know,
you shoot, no you shoot.
right? Okay, so I just looked it up. The Kings are an NBA were giving up 74% inside of 5 feet this year.
Yeah. But I think
Um,
it's just, yeah, all dunks by the Clippers.
yeah, and inside of 8 feet, they're giving up a league leading 64%. So.
Yeah, the mid range is and then it's like 50% from 9 feet to 15 or something. It's all
Oh
pretty
yeah,
crazy.
from 8 to 16, they're giving up
That
60%.
that's everything they
Granted,
gave Blake Griffin. They just gave it to him.
well, granted that's 18 of 30, so that's only
Yeah.
30 shots. But yeah, in the mid range, 16 to 24 feet, they're giving up 47%, which would yeah, that's Blake Griffin. So
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
in
an
a way, I
interesting.
mean,
It's a smart tactic as long as the guys aren't hitting every single shot.
well, that's exactly the shots you want guys taking as a defense. Like you don't want people taking shots inside the paint. You don't want people taking threes. If you can just live with people in the mid range, you're fine. And the one thing with the Clippers is that people have to remember is that's a mid-range shooting team. Like the only guys who really shoot threes on the Clippers are Redick and sometimes Chris Paul. So it's like it's really just two guys, but then Chris Paul wants to live in the mid-range. So if you're giving up mid-range shots to Chris Paul, it's kind of eh. Blake Griffin, even though he started out great, that's the shot you want him taking. So if he hits it, you just got to kind of deal
Yeah.
with it in a way. I mean, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, the Kings are giving up a 47.4% in the mid range, which is 0.1% more than the Pelicans. So, I mean,
And I mean and that's made look good by Kobe. Although Kobe didn't shoot that much against the Kings.
he took a lot of threes,
Yeah,
which I don't
and
get. I don't get why he's taking so many threes, but I don't really care. I mean,
they were
let
just
him.
behind, so he was just flinging. They got behind
Yeah,
so early.
yeah, and you know what's funny is I think the Kings had what do they have, like 40 points with like 2 minutes to go in the first quarter or something?
Yeah, and they had one free. Oh,
Oh
they were
my,
up. Yeah, they were like up 30 or something.
it's so ridiculous. I've never seen. I mean, there was a game between the Kings and the Nuggets years ago where the Nuggets had like 90 points in the
Yeah,
paint. But
that's
that's
a
the only
George
other
Karl
game.
team.
Yeah, exactly. That's what George Karl wants. He wants
Yeah,
layups and threes. So I get what the
and
Kings
he
are
would
doing,
prefer to have layups.
which is fine. It's a higher efficiency shot, you know. I mean, that's why when people get on Cousins' case for taking threes, it's like I'd rather him take threes than long twos.
Don't think he took a free the Lakers game, and he took a couple the second Clippers game. But it was interesting what he was saying about it. How his reason for taking them is to give more space, and so it's always been funny how like the narrative around Boogie is like you just cover him with like people that can make space, and now he's just like, okay, I'm sick of this narrative. I'll start making the space, and then but it means he can take guys off the dribble, and we kind of saw that. So it does add like another because DeAndre started closing him out that first Clippers game, and then he could take him off
Yeah,
the dribble.
yeah. He was almost like, oh, okay, I kind of got to guard him, I
Yeah,
guess. I mean, it's telling because Cousins was 4 of 5 from three that first game, but since then he's 0 of 5.
yeah.
So, I mean, is he gonna make four threes a game? Of course not. But I have no problem with him taking 2, 3 a game, especially if he's wide open. Because that second Clippers game, he was getting wide open threes.
I'd rather Boogie take them than Rondo maybe. It's close.
I'd agree with that though, unless Rondo's taking a corner three.
Yeah.
I
Which he's been
can't
taking
really.
above the break ones quite often. But
Yeah,
hit a couple.
yeah. I see. Like, if you're taking corner threes, like, how do people get mad? You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
it's an efficient shot. I'm sad Cousins had to leave the second game because that actually I had to recap that game for Clips Nation. I actually got sad about that because I was interested to see how he'd keep playing. Because he had what Cousins had 13 and 9 at the half. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it sucks. I hate injuries so much.
Well, it sounds like so he's going to miss the back-to-back, and then have you heard anything on kind of how long he's going to be out?
I've heard 2 games at least. I don't. I mean, Achilles injuries, strains, what have you. They're always risky just because if you feel the slightest of twinge, it could lead to more.
Mm.
So, I mean, it's not like us. Like, if you or I injured our Achilles and it hurt, like, we'd still walk, but, like, I mean, we'd limp.
I've had I've had so many Achilles tears when I used to run when I was like a kid. I tore it when I was 11. Tore my Achilles like 7 times,
Ooh, jeez.
like each one. So, but I just had like really bad advice when I was a kid. Um,
We always got
so I
bad
just tore
advice
it the
when we were
wrong day.
kids. Like, it's when we were growing up, it was always play through it. You're fine. Like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
if if I had torn it the next day when I was like running for my club, or like the day before when I was running for my club, I'd have got like proper advice, but instead it was like at a school thing. And then so I just went to hospital and was like, yeah, just don't walk on it for a while. And then so when it felt better, I started running again. And then guess what happened? Kept freaking
Rub some
tearing.
dirt on it.
Yeah,
Like, rub some dirt on it. You'll be
sometime.
fine. You know. So yeah, I'm interested to see how the Kings do this year as an outside observer because I think I had them at 41 and 41. So
That
I
seems
could,
to be like the consensus is like
yeah,
around 40.
as long as they don't get injured, which I say that about every team because injuries
Yeah.
are so like you just don't know. Like as great as Golden State is, they're still just an injury away.
So I guess talking about the Golden State, they killed the Grizzlies, who the Kings play today. Um, are the Grizzlies just going to be? They've got to be so pissed off, right?
They've got to be pissed, but at the same time, I don't know if they can do anything about it. I've
Zebo
seen,
looks pretty bad.
yeah, time caught up with him.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
why.
think that's what it is.
So they're going to start Willie Cauley-Stein and Kufos. I kind of want them to put Willie on Tony Allen, and you have Gay on Zebo, because then you have Zebo chasing after Gay, and like Gay's length can kind of bother Zebo in the post. So like that would be kind of fun, and you can just have Willie sag off Tony Allen and just like create havoc in the lane. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
they'll do
mean,
that, but that would be fun.
I think more teams need to do what Golden State did, which is exactly that. Just have your athletic center, just ignore him.
Yeah,
Like you don't need to guard Tony Allen. Like if Tony Allen hits a three against you, does it like do you really care?
because
You
it just
know,
means he's going to take more of them.
exactly. If
Miss
he
more of
takes a
them.
right, so it's like it's fine with me. I mean, I don't get why teams didn't do that earlier. Like that's
Maybe
what
it's
I've
just
never
teams don't
understood.
game plan enough in season, and they save it for in case they see them
That's
in the
true.
preseason.
That's true. I mean, because Golden State didn't do it the first 3 games. I don't think, did they?
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been free because it was the same as the Cavs series. It was always the third game, and then they made their one adjustment, and luckily both those series are against teams that have one look, or at that time had one look and couldn't really adjust to the adjustment.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, give credit to Golden State. They prepared well, I
And
mean,
they look incredible now.
yeah, they look something else, and it's kind of funny because I find as much as people are enamored with them, they're also kind of like, yeah, who cares? Like it's like because I see people on Twitter like, yeah, Golden State's winning by a ton again. Who cares? Like it's almost like it got so easy for them that people just don't care anymore.
Yeah. And I guess just because when it looks so easy, then you can't really appreciate what's happening. and because it happens so often. Whereas when it's kind of um, like a special moment, but just because you're just almost expecting like the clay quarter or whatever, it just
Right,
happens so
like
often.
right, like you always know you're gonna get a Steph quarter. You always know you like someone's just gonna go off for a quarter on that team. It's like yeah, we expected, man. Like this is kind of what we're waiting for.
It's almost going to be more of a surprise the game when no one goes off and it's like tight.
Yeah,
That's going
that's
to
the
be.
thing. I wonder how Golden State's gonna do in close games this year if they have close games this year because last year, even though they won close games quite a bit, it's like they struggled sometimes. I mean, so who knows, you know? Because they love to space the floor, which is fine because they have guys who can play both ways. You know, I mean, you can get away with Draymond at center just because he's a good offensive player and he's a hell of a defensive player. But how do they do against San Antonio? That's the real question because I think San Antonio presents problems for them.
Yeah, especially just the way Kawhi's playing.
Yeah,
Looks pretty.
and plus, it's kind of because who on San Antonio do you really hide Steph on? Not to say Steph's not a good defender, but it's like because Steph doesn't really always guard point guards, so it's like do you put him on
I
Tony
guess just
Parker?
the way Tony Parker's looking, you probably do.
Yeah, it's
Um,
true.
I'd kind of like the Spurs to move to like a no point guard look, and you just have Kawhi as the primary ball handler. I think that might be what they go to in the playoffs.
I could actually see them closing with like a Ginobili Green, Kawhi, Aldridge Duncan lineup
Yeah, that'd be
sometimes.
fun.
Just because I mean you don't lose anything with ball handling with Ginobili, and you gain
Yeah.
shot making. You know, and guarding left-handed people is always awkward, anyways.
Or even Anderson can like initiate some offense if he off the
Yeah,
bench as well.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, as it's funny because even though they have a loss, it's like I look at the Spurs and they haven't really played great, but at the same time they're still the Spurs. And Kawhi Leonard looks like he's their. I mean, Kawhi is their best player, so. And I don't think anyone expected that. Like they signed LaMarcus Aldridge, and he's been good, but not great. But Kawhi's been the one guy. Like no one can stop him. So
Yeah, I don't think people anticipated him to be like this, like so good at creating his own shot, because that's just something he's developed so much.
right, like he was always spoon-fed in the corners and on cuts, and like his progression as a player has been extremely interesting to watch. Because it's not like he just came in and this is how he was. It was at
Yeah.
first he was a 3-and-D guy, then he was a 3D and cut guy, then he was a three and D who can cut and kind of do some stuff in the post, and now it's like he's doing all these things and you're like, okay, like this is what teams got to deal with though.
So yeah, it's just so funny where people are like, oh, the Kings could have picked Kawhi Leonard, and it's like, well, he would have been cut, and then someone else, like he wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, because I always think about it with the Clippers, because our pick that year went to Cleveland and they got Kyrie Irving. And the one thing I keep thinking is if like we never did that trade and just say our pick stays ninth, which I think our odds were ninth, it was like because I loved Kawhi Leonard that year. I had him second on my big board, so it's like if the Clippers would have picked him at 9, would he have been as good? And it's like, and then I start thinking like if we picked Paul George over Aminu the year before, would he have been as good? It's like I don't even know, like because it's all player development with coaches and stuff.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that kind of, and just like who coaches want to play, and then if guys get, like we may be seeing McLemore just getting kind of dropped from rotation, not playing that second half, and like
Yeah,
just sticking Caron Butler up there instead.
yeah, Macklemore's been disappointing. Well, I don't want to say he's been disappointing, but he's not been what people thought he would be. And I don't really know if that's fair to him because I wasn't a big Macklemore guy when he got drafted. Because people saw like a younger Ray Allen, which I didn't think was fair because younger Ray Allen was extremely ridiculously good. So, I
And knew
mean,
how to play basketball. That's just Ben G
yeah, like
doesn't really know what he's doing.
it's weird because I could kind of see Macklemore on like the Wesley Johnson career path, where he's ridiculously
Okay.
freakishly like you know what I mean? Like he's freakishly athletic in some ways, and he's long, and he can kind of shoot, and he can get to the rim, and he can play some defense, but he just doesn't understand basketball yet.
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy that the Spurs would pick up in 3 years and turn into a stud.
Basically, yeah. So I think it's good that like Rondo's trying to help him and Willie Cauley-Stein as well. Um, but I think he needs to like play, and I think there is like some fault in like his usage. I mean, he doesn't like people complain about you don't see him at all, but they just stick him in the corner and tell him to walk up and down between the break and the corner, and just see if the ball and like see if he gets thrown the ball, and he never does. So there's not
Yeah.
like then they're not exactly um, like giving him a great opportunity to like get going. And then there was even times last year where he would like get hot and then he wouldn't see the ball until the fourth quarter from
Yeah,
the
he's
first
kind of
quarter.
just
It's just like,
there,
yeah. But
which
then
is a
maybe you
shame.
need a. But I mean, I guess if you have Boogie, Gay, and like you kind of need a less ball and Rondo, you need someone who's less ball dominant. So maybe if you have Willie Cauley-Stein and Macklemore, you're not really worrying about them offensively having the ball. But then
But I
you
wonder, like,
can't complain if they don't develop if they never touch the ball.
yeah, well, because I wonder, like, what happens if you just put Bellinelli in a spot? Like, it can't go that wrong.
I see that Carl has said he's the one guy who will always be off the bench. So they'll play James Anderson starting before they think about playing Bellinelli with a starting unit. Because I think
Hmm.
they just want shooting off the bench. Like I think Bellinelli's like playing like 37 minutes a game,
Well, yeah, and
something
plus
ridiculous like
like,
that. So
oddly enough, he can
he's not
create his
shooting
own
very well.
shot.
So. Yeah, he's been really impressive in that way, and even like creating for others. I think he had like in a game with like 5 assists. Um,
Yeah,
so
he's
he's
not
been
bad. I mean, I like him. He always seems to like torture the Clippers with like ridiculous. Like he hit that damn shot towards the end of the second game where
yeah,
everyone thought it was a three, but it was a toe on
it's
the line too, and it was like of course he hit that shot. It was like because it's
after
all he
like
ever
missing
does.
open mid-range jumpers before that.
Right, yeah, he's one of those guys who can't hit easy shots.
I
So
think he just has like hot spells because preseason he was really hot and just hitting everything, or other than
yeah,
like open freeze. But then yeah, it's just all his shots are like off screens basically. But as a ball handler, he's been mainly like ball screens, then just flying up. They had like a couple of down screens in preseason, but haven't really seen that much, or like floppy sets a huge amount. Um, so it's just interesting. I would rather like that would be fun to see Ben do, and just a way of like getting other shooting guards having to run around the whole time. Probably help him a bit, like defensively
yeah.
as well. I
Well,
don't know.
especially in the new NBA when spacing is at like a premium. So that like everyone wants spacing, but I don't think people know how to get it. Like that's the toughest part, and at
Yeah.
least Bellinelli gives you spacing. Like Rondo doesn't give you spacing, but he can find guys who do give you spacing.
Or you can find a guy that like a guy that's open in space.
Right, like if you run Rondo in a pick and roll the entire game with Cousins, and they just run pick and pop or pick and roll, it opens up so much, especially because if Cousins rolls, you have to crash with three defenders, and it's pretty much at that point pick your poison.
Even with
So
Kufos, it looks pretty good.
yeah, Kufis is big,
Pick
man.
and roll play.
Yeah, Kufis's thing is he's so huge that when he gets in the paint, everything's like he makes an impact.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder. I mean, I get that Memphis got Brandon Wright, but man, I can't believe they let him go.
See, I think a couple of people have said to like the kind of or have explained it as you have Brandon Wright and then you have kind of like another look off the bench where you can run a bit more, um, get like more transition points, be like a rim runner and stuff. So then maybe that kind of makes more sense where you can try and get some easier baskets.
Yeah.
But then you could still have both. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking at shot data, and it's like our teams are just not shooting well on open threes. Let's see. The Kings
And that's not strange for the Kings.
are 23 of 64, which is 36%.
I
I
wonder
mean,
how many of those are Rondo and Boogie. Although Boogie's been relatively, his percentages are good from free.
he shot 40% this year, so.
Yeah.
Um,
He's probably a best shooter.
the Kings are the Kings. The Clippers are 21 of 78, which is 27%, which is ridiculous considering who they have shooting some of those threes. Because I think yesterday Reddick was like 2 of 8 on open shots or something, which is like horrific for him. You know what I mean? The team yesterday went 7 of 22 from on uncontested three. That's 32%. That's ridiculous.
What did you think of the Suns then? Because that's who the Kings play on a back-to-back. The second part of the back-to-back. They're away in Phoenix after the Grizzlies game. So what was your kind of thoughts? I think, like, the beginning of the third half, and I think I fell asleep with like 3 minutes to go because I thought it was pretty much over.
What do I think of the Kings? Or not the Kings, the Suns. They're kind of like you guys in a way. It's like they have the ability to do it. It's just I think against the slightly better teams they have trouble because slightly better teams play better defense. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the Clippers forced Phoenix into a lot of like what seemed like high percentage shots but really weren't. Like they gave Markieff Morris every open three imaginable. He just didn't care. Like Blake Griffin would not leave the paint to guard him. He was like, you know what, you can shoot him. And that was kind of like the adjustment they made. So I'm interested to see how the Kings guard the Suns, because if they do that, then I mean Markieff Morris can hit him. He hit him against the Clippers in the third quarter. So who knows? But I think the Suns and the Kings match up well, especially with like the Chandler-Cauley-Stein matchup.
See,
That's a good
when they
one.
played in pre-season, it was Markieff on Willie Cauley-Stein, and Markieff was like running floaters when he was driving. He didn't want to get close. Like Willie Cauley-Stein was affecting his shot at the rim, like from 10 feet out. So I kind of like that in terms of like a defensive matchup, but then I think also like Gay against him is kind of good. So I think that's maybe one team where the Kings could start off small, and then you just have Kufos come off the bench as the bench big, and you just have both units go small, and that kind of helps with like minute distribution as well with Boogie out.
Yeah, and you can like because the Suns play PJ Tucker at the 3, so and he doesn't really get the ball that much unless it's like a corner 3. So it's like you can kind of like sag off him.
Bellinelli on him, or like you could even have Collison or Rondo on him, something like that. See how it works.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah,
and then because they can run 2-point guards, so then you can have, although Knight's a bit bigger.
Yeah, you can kind of like Brandon Knight actually is really weird. Like if you did, I was talking to this with a Suns guy last night. If you didn't tell me Brandon Knight shot 4 of 20 last night, I would have said he was playing an awesome game. But apparently he shot 4 of 20, and he was like 1 of 8 from 3, and he got quite a few like open looks. But it was like he struggled. Markieff Morris struggled. The one thing with the Suns you have to watch out for is the screen roll lob, like the Clippers run.
Okay.
Because Knight and Chandler have that down pretty well. So that's the one thing you have to really look out for. And on pick and roll,
did a pretty good job taking that away from. Or at least that was part of their game plan, especially the first Clippers game. They said they didn't want to give away any lobs or frees.
Yeah.
So I think that was only that one lob at the end that pretty much ended the game.
it's kind of funny. You can actually probably play Phoenix a lot like you play the Clippers because the backcourts are kind of similar. Obviously, Paul can shoot better than Bledsoe, and Rhett can shoot better than Knight. But at the same time, it's kind of like their guards are really good. Their small forwards kind of like a whatever shooter, and they have one athletic big and like kind of like a traditional and a mid-range big, like all in one. So it's kind of like you can guard them the same way. So like the only difference between Markieff Morris and Blake Griffin is Markieff Morris is just going to shoot more threes, but in a weird way, that's fine. Like, you can live with that. Like, if Markieff Morris is beating you with threes, I think you just live with it.
And I kind of felt that the small ball against the Clippers with Gay, I guess that was like most of the crunch time lineups were small ball, particularly the first game. That kind of looked the best when Gay was on Blake, and I was surprised he didn't go to that more. Especially with, I guess they kind of did it when Boogie was out, but I thought they started that half with both bigs out there when really I felt they should have just stuck with Gay on Blake.
Yeah, I think the problem with Carl in some ways is he likes to still have like a traditional lineup despite what he wants to play. So
Yeah.
like he likes like it's weird, like analytically he's like one of the guys who loves, as we said, layups and threes. But he always started like true traditional bigs, like wherever he's been. So it's kind of weird.
And even his last Denver team is really interesting because it was so it was Kufos and Farid as the starting bigs. So that's pretty similar to Kufos and Willie.
Yeah.
So they could start a lot together. And then they had like no shooting. They almost shot as much as the Kings. I think from three they shot like 16 attempts that year.
Yeah, because they had, what was that? There was like a Gallinari and a Chandler. No, that was like was that an Iguodala year?
Yeah, it was the last Iguodala year.
Yeah, so it makes sense.
Lawson.
So it was Lawson, Iguodala. Was it Gallinari? I think it was Gallinari.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a big lineup. Outside of Lawson, that's a big lineup. So yeah, I mean, George Karl likes his flexibility, but he likes his simplicity too. Like, if that makes sense. So I like how he has the team going. I mean, they're playing hard, which is the first sign of anything that you want to build off of. They're not like the Lakers who just don't care.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they're just terrible. Are they already sitting Hibbert? Or like he's not going to start anymore.
Is that what happened?
Somewhere. I think I saw a tweet of somewhere saying like Hibbert's going to come off the bench.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
And then there was something else where like whatever he's calling himself now, Metal World Peace or Panda or Panda's friend, like Byron Scott said after the Kings game, if we were to have Meta active on game days, that would be a sign of panic. The next game he's active. It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, the Lakers have their own problems. I'm not like, it's really weird. Like, obviously I'm not a Laker person, but it's funny because it's like I just sit there and I'm like it's not even fun to watch them like be bad.
No,
it's like it's almost like you start feeling like sorry for them.
Their D-League team might be good.
Yeah, like in a weird way, like the only word I keep coming up with is like it's pathetic. Like you watch them and like you can't get excited. Like the first half you're excited because it's a game, and then the second half you're just like, can this end?
And it's like the guys that are kind of like are going to be the future of the team were invisible. In particular, like Randall, in particular against the Kings, was completely invisible pretty much, which was interesting.
Foul trouble.
Yeah, but in preseason he had some nice moves on Gay, and then they played in Las Vegas, but then he did pretty much nothing, and Russell as well was just pretty much invisible. Clarkson looks good though, so at least they've got one guy.
I thought it was interesting that the Kings put Cauley Stein on Randall, and not just because like Cauley Stein's an athletic, lengthy defender, but because they both were teammates at Kentucky. So it's kind of like Cauley-Stein knows what Randall wants to do.
They've also
So
just been putting Boogie on the center defensively and uh, Kufos or Willie on the power forward. And then even though offensively Boogie's playing more of a power forward, like a 4 role. So that's kind of like an interesting
also they're kind of
thing to look at.
cross-matching.
Yeah.
That's actually
So
smart though, because
if you
it
pull
keeps
out the center and
it keeps Cousins from having to probably guard as many pick and rolls. Because in the Clippers in the first game, down the stretch, the Clippers abused him in the pick and roll. I like Cousins. It's just he could not defend in space because there was multiple times where like Chris Paul would just dribble right through him and then get an open jumper. It's like you can't have that, So like I like Cousins. I just don't think he's what people thought he would be defensively. If that makes sense.
he needs to be in the paint really to
Yeah.
defend. So then maybe that kind of makes because he takes charges really well. He's even got better like verticality. But yeah, I think, and then also if you just have him in the paint and then he's getting boards and he can initiate the offense as well, so that kind of helps in terms of like the tempo. Because I think that they're the fastest team. So, and that's partly because they're like I think the third best rebounding team. And that's been something
Yeah.
I've been impressed with Willie in particular. Because that was my one concern with him is like his rebounding, and I think he's got like quite a lot of boards. He's almost had like 2 double doubles, and getting offensive boards as well. Him and Costa Kufos, they're like getting as many offensive boards as they are.
Yeah, because one of Willie's things coming out was he wasn't like he was a really good defender, but he struggled to get rebounds sometimes.
It was the last year because he was playing like he was defending free like perimeter players so much, so he
Oh
was
yeah,
just
that's
away
right.
from the
Yeah.
basket. Whereas the year before he had like a much higher percentage or like a
Yeah.
much better like ratio. So that's just kind of like one of those things um, with Kentucky. And there's been some really funny stuff with I don't know if Matt, did we talk about this before with so there was James Ham was talking about Willie Cauley-Stein had never watched film before at Kentucky and was like asking Rondo, "What are you watching?" I had never lifted weights before the draft, so he just like has no idea. The day he took off with like when he hurt his ankle, he like, said to reporters after, "It's like coaches have been telling me where to go and like what to do in these plays, and I just do what they say." That day when I sat down and watched everyone playing, then I realized why they're asking me to do these things. So it's just incredible he can like be like have such a big impact on like 2 games so far, and literally has only started watching film for about a month.
That's pretty
I mean,
incredible, actually.
yeah, and it's just
It's
scary what they do at Kentucky.
well, but at the same time, it's kind of funny when you think about it, simply because I mean they were so talented. I don't think they had to watch film on other people.
Yeah,
I mean it's not to uh, I guess go slightly off topic, but it's almost like Floyd Mayweather, because he always said he never watched film on opponents. He just went out there and did his thing. So it's kind of like the
yeah.
same thing, where it's like you're so good, you don't have to worry about what other people are doing.
I guess that's kind of like the way in which like the Golden State Warriors, if you're the best at doing what you're doing, then no one will be able to beat you at their best.
Right, exactly. And it's interesting. I'm looking at the net rating numbers. Willie Cauley-Stein in 61 minutes is a plus 17.3 in net rating. When he's off the floor, the team is minus 12.
I
Which
think
is
'cause
actually
he played so much against the Lakers though.
oh,
That's
that's
the
true. Yeah,
reason.
and Rudy Gay's the same way. Yeah,
Yeah,
Rudy Gay's
literally
pretty good.
everything is like the Lakers ruin it all.
I
So
should
we'll
just I should just check out what they are against the Clippers, because that would actually
yeah.
just be, I guess, the better way to do it. I mean, well, you guys haven't left the state of California yet this season. Neither have we.
And we'll just go to Phoenix, and we've got like there's eight or 9 home games. Oh, so there's like the Grizzlies at home, then they go to Phoenix, then there's Rockets, Warriors, Spurs, Pistons, Nets, Raptors, all that sleep train.
A lot of home games in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Clippers don't leave the state of California until November 11th at Dallas.
That's
That's a
great.
long time in one state. And in fact, this is actually really weird. Um, if you go through till December 5th, they only play 3 games outside the state of California. One is Dallas, one is Portland, and one is Phoenix. Or excuse me, 4 times. So Dallas, Phoenix, Portland, and Denver. Like they're not really going anywhere early.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the one thing for Sacramento, as with the Clippers, you have to like that stretch of games that's so close to your own building. You have to kind of like jump out early so that you can like kind of maintain it when you know you're going to struggle a little bit later on.
So, but this is kind of like the struggling time for the Kings. If you think of like pretty much every team up until the Nets looks like a playoff team. Maybe like I think the Rockets still are. Like the Suns are probably borderline. Pistons look like it at the moment. Whether that's real or not, I think it probably is. So I think like you almost have to beat the Suns, and maybe just hope the Rockets are still on their like downward spiral and catch them.
Yeah, like the first, I guess, easy game, and I hate even saying that because the Clippers go at Golden State tomorrow night, then versus Houston, versus Memphis, at Dallas, at Phoenix, versus Detroit, versus Golden State, and then on the second night of a back-to-back, they're at Portland. So it's like that's like their so November 20th at Portland would kind of be their first, I guess, easy-ish game, but that's
So
a
quite
back-to-back.
like it's quite a similar schedule with opponents.
Yeah.
Shame you don't get the easy Lakers win in there. But I guess you can save those for later.
We don't play the Lakers, and this is actually the kind of thing that annoys me right now, is we don't play the Lakers until Christmas. That's our first meeting. And then I don't think we see them until January 29th, and then we don't see them at all until April 5th and April 6th.
Oh, the Kings had that last year where like the last 2 games were against the Lakers. So it just yeah.
I think this is the third straight year that the Clippers have ended against Phoenix. No, second. But I think the third straight year they've ended on a back-to-back. Which is dumb, but whatever. I don't think the
maybe
last,
they
I just don't think the last day of the season should be a back-to-back like that, or excuse me, fourth straight, and all four have been on the road because they played Sacramento to end the year 4 years ago. Oh nope, 5 years in a row. Wow.
I guess they
Damn.
try and make them West Coast though, so they're closer or something like that.
Well, in 2000, I forgot about this game. In 2011-12, they ended the season in New York on a back-to-back.
Oh man. I guess it's kind of nice to enter New York if you win and you're in the playoffs.
That's
Party.
true.
Or if you lose and you're out of the playoffs, you can move straight into your New York apartment.
Right? I'm looking at net rating against the Clippers in the 2 games. Your top guy is Omri Caspi.
Yeah, but
He's been good. That's the funny thing. Against the Clippers, he's been good.
and he's mainly played against bench units, so then maybe that kind of says it. He's been hitting open threes.
He rebounds really well.
Yeah.
I wanted him in the offseason. I'm not going to lie. Like, I like him a lot.
I think that's the one thing the Kings can get away with playing small is that their like swing guys can rebound really well. Like Rudy rebounds really well, and Omri does. So
you can play Caspi at the 4 and Cauley at the 5 if Cousins is in foul trouble or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then even like Rondo like rebounds well for his position, so that kind of makes up some slack as well.
Yeah, like I'm looking at it right now. You guys have 2 players in positive net rating against the Clippers. Caspi's plus 20.3 in 42 minutes, and Cauley Stein's plus 2.3 in 31 minutes.
Yeah, I think Willie's going to play a lot. It should be fun.
It should be fun. This actual rookie class has been fun.
Yeah, it's been really good. And it's interesting that maybe like has Russell been like the only disappointing one so far, really, of the top guys?
I don't even think he's been disappointing. It's weird. Like people keep saying he's been like.
Maybe I've just seen because both times he's played the Kings, he's literally been invisible. So
And
maybe
that's not even his
and I'm not
fault.
really going to pick to watch other Lakers games really.
And it's sad because that's not even his fault. Like,
No.
it's the way Byron Scott is. Like, I could spend an hour talking about how dumb Byron Scott is. I'll just say this though: Byron Scott just doesn't understand what to do with a guy who has creativity. So, like, D'Angelo Russell should handle the ball and pick and rolls, but instead it's Jordan Clarkson and Kobe Bryant. So it's like now D'Angelo Russell, who's this wonderful facilitator, is just standing there and no one passes to him. Like, that's why if you watch him and he takes shots, a lot of the time he's forcing them almost in like a I just know I'm not going to get the ball back kind of way. So I don't blame him. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just interesting. Like, I think Russell's been okay. I think Towns has been awesome. Okafor's been good so far. Cauley Stein's been good when he's played. I'm trying to think of who. Porzingis has been good.
Winslow's been pretty good after.
Yeah, Stanley
Looking
Johnson's
down
been
here.
good. Stanley Johnson's been good. Miles Turner's been great when he actually
Yeah.
plays. Hizonia's been good. Like, it's really weird. Like, this rookie class, I'm kind of like, a lot of these guys have been fine so far.
I'm surprised Hazonia is like playing crunch time minutes, so that's like good. I thought Scott Skiles would never let him, but then I mean, he just seems to like. It's really weird. It's like the least Scott Skiles crunch time lineups ever with. It's just so strange. It's maybe he's just waiting. It's like, okay, I've got enough now to show you why you can no longer play in crunch time. There
Right?
you go.
It's
We have
kinda-
these 4 games you lost us. Now you cannot play anymore. Whereas if he just put like instead of Tobias Harris, like you put someone defensive out there, maybe that would work better. And then you have like someone in between.
Oh, that's the other guy who's been good. Montrezl
Aaron
Harrell.
Gordon, Montrezl. I-
Montrezl Harrell. I will never understand why he slipped to the second round, but whatever.
I think it's just because he doesn't have a jump shot.
Which I don't even like as a big guy. I don't even think you need
Yeah.
when you're an energy guy.
I think there's
Like-
just that kind of like
Men's
it's now
play.
like no limits your upside, and that's what.
Moutier, people want to talk about Moutier, how he struggled with his shot, which is fine, and he's turned the ball over quite a bit, but I think he's looked fine.
Yeah, he's. The one thing with Moody, he plays kind of like out of control quite a bit.
Yeah, and he takes a
reminds-
lot of step-back jumpers, which is like a
Yeah.
big no-no. And it's like people are starting to kind of like gauge his step-back jumper now, so it's becoming a little bit tougher for him. So it's like this is very interesting actually. Porzingis is averaging 11.8 points in 24 minutes per game. Cauley Stein and Miles Turner are each averaging 9 points in literally like 20.3, 20.5 minutes. D'Angelo Russell is averaging 9 in 25 minutes. So, and like, yeah, I think the rookie class has been fine. Like, there's a lot of good guys in this class.
How did Devin Booker look for the
He's-
Suns, or did he not play much?
He didn't play yesterday. I think he had like an ankle issue.
Okay.
He's only played 2 games. I think like his first game, I think he was like 6 of 7 from the field, but I think only like one or two of the shots were 3. And then he only played,
Interesting.
and then he only played 2 minutes against Portland and got injured. So yeah, like so against Dallas opening night for Phoenix, he had 14 points, 3 rebounds, and a steal in 21 minutes on 6 of 7. I mean, I like him. I could see, like I was telling my son's guy last night, I could see him becoming a little Klay Thompson-ish.
He's got at least like the body for it.
Yeah, he just
Right.
has to. It's almost like the maturity, not in terms of like mindset, but like body.
Mm.
So I like because he's kind of not skinny. He's
He's at least got the frame you can see, like you can see it.
yeah, and
well,
plus
he's not
he's 19.
Yeah.
I think he's the youngest player in the NBA right now, actually. So that's a big
Bruno?
deal.
How old's Bruno now?
I think Bruno's 20 now.
Okay. Wow.
He still might be 2 years away from. Oh yeah, he's 20.
Okay.
That is still one of the greatest draft quotes I've ever heard.
Yeah.
He's 2 years away from being 2 years away. Like what?
He must be 1 year away from 2 years away now.
Pretty much. So I have Bulls Hornets on in the background right now. If I didn't tell you the score, what would you think the score is? Bulls Hornets.
Just because you said that now, well, it must be in the third quarter now.
2:40 to go in the second.
Okay. I'll go 46-30 Hornets.
What if I told you it's 64-37 Hornets?
Oh. I knew it had to be something Hornets. They
That's
play
already.
well.
It's really weird. They're taking so many threes now.
I guess it's like the teams that have gone for the 4-1 out have kind of worked, like have legitimately gone for it. No holds bar, like them and the Pistons, and it's looks good.
Yeah, the Hornets don't have a win yet, but two of their losses, which were actually
They're pretty close, aren't they?
yeah, the two to the Hawks were last second losses. Like Kemba Walker, and each one had a shot to tie, and he just missed it. Which, like, let's be realistic. If you have a shot to tie against the Atlanta Hawks, even if you're the Hornets, that's still a good sign
Like
for you.
Yeah, and that was like a baseline fadeaway contested jumper, like in
Yeah,
2015.
yeah, and then the other one the other night was like a wing jumper from about 20 feet that he missed.
Okay.
But it's like, like you live with that. Like, I have a friend that's a Hornets fan, so the one thing that sucks for the Hornets is they just don't have Kid Gilchrist anymore, which is just horrific for them.
But
But
maybe that helps if they can still be like defensively effective, but then they get more shooting, not having Kid Gross out there. Maybe it
yeah,
somehow works.
yeah, like their winning percentage without him is so bad. Have you ever seen the stat on that?
I think I saw it somewhere.
Yeah,
Because he
it's like
just
they win.
means you can.
Yeah, they win like 20% of their games, which is utterly ridiculous. Like, and when he plays, they're almost like a 500 team.
It's just
It's
because
like,
he's missed so many games.
and it's not like it's weird. Like I don't even fault him. Like he plays hard. He just gets banged up from it. So I'm looking at the stats right now for them. Batum and Walker each have 9. Jefferson and PJ Harrison each have 8. Jeremy Lin has 7. Spencer Hawes has 8. Jeremy Lamb has 6. Man. Hawes and Harrison are 2 for 2 from 3. Lin's 1 of 1. Walker's 1 of 1. Lin is 4 of 4 from the free throw line. Batum's 7 of 7. Yeah, all right. All right.
So that's one.
Whew. Like, it's bad. Like, okay, so this is actually crazy. Chicago's shooting 42%, but they're 6 of 11 from 3, and they're down by 37.
That's mad.
Primarily because Charlotte's shooting 60% from 3 and 7 of 9. Or 60% overall and 7 of 9 from 3.
Yeah, there's not really much you can do with that.
Yeah, like if a team's hitting shots, and that's why I try to tell people, like, because I know losses suck. Like no one wants to watch your team lose, but some losses don't suck just because if a team's hitting shots, what are you gonna do? And your team's not. Those games happen.
As long as you're getting good shots, eventually they'll go down.
Right, which is like that's the one thing. Like I try to tell people all the time, especially with Redick last night. People were like, "Oh, Redick just doesn't have it tonight." It's like, yeah, but he's also generating so many wide open shots. You want him to take those. I mean, those are exactly the kind of shots you want J.J. Redick taking. Like, you wouldn't tell Klay Thompson, don't take a wide open 3
No.
because you're struggling.
Yeah, if they don't take it, then you worry.
Yeah, that's the point you take him out of the game. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Like, you could leave now. Oh, man.
I guess before we let you guys, we've almost been going for an hour.
Oh, jeez. I didn't realize that.
The Rockets is the last game. Just before the Warriors. I think we talked enough about the Warriors, and I think that I don't see how the Kings can win that unless they just fall asleep. But what's your kind of take on the Rockets' kind of struggles early on?
I do not know what to make of the Rockets whatsoever. Last night's game against Oklahoma City, I don't know if you saw it at all. It was just really weird. Like, Oklahoma City was kind of thrashing them around, and then all of a sudden, Rockets just came back and beat them because all Houston kept doing was switching a pick and roll and getting Harden on Westbrook and just taking advantage of it. And Harden finally found his shot again, and all that thing. And Houston's a little bit tricky. They have, arguably, in terms of overall talent, the best starting lineup in the Western Conference. Possibly, just if you want to say Spurs, which is fine. But the only thing that they're lacking is probably power forward play, but I don't think that really kills them. But the thing with them to remember is they like pick and roll action to generate wide open threes or layups. And the issue that they've been having all year is teams just aren't caring about Clint Capella, Dwight Howard, Montrezl Harrell. They're not really caring that Corey Brewer's getting wide open shots. Lawson and Harden are having communication issues on who should be where. Their defense is suffering because Lawson and Harden can't guard anybody. So the Rockets could be really, really, really good, or they could just be average. And if you get them on an average night, like for instance, this is how the last two Rockets games have gone. First 2.5 quarters against Miami, they had a 21-point lead. They lost the game by 20 points. Like, that tells you everything you need to know about the Rockets season right there. Like, they had a 21-point lead midway through the third quarter and then lost the game by 20.
That's a pretty good Kings effort.
Well, the Clippers did that in a worse setting. We did that in Game 6, so...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm always haunted by that. But the thing with the Houston that you always have to remember is if you have a good backcourt, you can attack Harden and Lawson. And Howard does not look that, dominating anymore defensively. So it's hard to say what Houston is. Because if you put Howard in a pick and roll, his back looks like it's bothering him.
And that's probably all the Kings will do. So at least that kind of works.
And actually playing fast is what Houston wants, but I think you can beat Houston playing fast.
Just because, you can't... Maybe you just force them to play Howard less if you're running really fast and they have to run with Capella more.
Yeah, and Capella's been great. It's just he's not Howard.
Yeah.
Just
and even if Howard isn't playing his best, there's still kind of that hesitation of
right.
Regardless that you see it, it's there's certain players, they have a certain reputation, and that whether the player's the same or not, you see people being closing out way too aggressive on Kobe, like Kings players were, and almost giving up fouls, and just you don't need to do that, just let him have the open shot.
Right, it's almost like your reputation precedes you.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's kind of happening with Lance Stevenson, where guys are trying to run him off the three-point line when really you kind of just want him to take threes. I mean, would you rather have Lance Stevenson driving against you, or would you rather have Lance Stevenson taking a three? I mean, especially after last season. So, I mean, it's really interesting to watch teams defend the aura of somebody rather than how good they really are. It's always been it's always been the NBA's biggest thing is for instance, as you mentioned, Kobe. It's you always think run Kobe off the 3-point line. He's a good shooter, but then now it's well, kind of want him to do that.
Yeah, he's been a pretty terrible shooter.
Yeah, I've tweeted some stuff about him in terms of numbers wise, and I think he's 5 of 30 something outside of 8 feet this year.
I think tweeting about Kobe sounds like the worst idea ever.
It's pretty bad. I get people that respond to me. You've probably seen my mentions sometimes. The people that it's why am I even talking to people? It's oh man. But yeah, I mean, it's sad to see players fall off. But Kobe did it to himself, and then you look at Dirk Nowitzki. It's Dirk was smart. Dirk evolved his game to being efficient. Kobe has never changed.
Or even you've seen that with Paul Pierce and
yeah,
it's learning their role has to change if they want to keep playing. And
it's all adapting. You just got to adapt. So.
Or has your opinion then changed on the Kings those like the first week, or is it kind of just like, to me it just looks like this is like I was right to think this could work. So it's still like it just confirms what my like opinion of like a low 40s win team.
It hasn't changed how I think about them at all, like in the least. In fact, it actually makes me think more of them. If this is how they're going to play, I have good feelings about them. About a 42-ish win team. So I think they can make a play, especially with New Orleans struggling. Like, New Orleans looks bad. I mean, granted, they're injured. New Orleans looks bad. Phoenix,
you don't know.
Be
injured.
Yeah, that team lives in injuries.
And they haven't had a Davis injury yet, which is going to come at some point, and then it just sinks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of like how to phrase New Orleans is always injured. You don't know what you're getting out of Houston. You don't know what you're getting out of Memphis. You don't know what you're going to get out of Phoenix from night to night. Dallas looks like they can be competitive, but you don't know. The top four already. Clippers, Warriors, Thunder, Spurs. They're pretty much all there. Utah is tough defensively, but struggles offensively. Minnesota's fun, but look what happened. They played a team that actually has a backcourt that could score, and Minnesota, they had problems defending it. Denver's fun, but not good. Lakers are not fun and not good. I mean, it's just how it is. Like the West after because Houston's making the playoffs. I mean, we all agree with that. So Houston's making the playoffs. Memphis should make the playoffs. So they're 6. The 7th and 8th spot are always the up in the air spots in terms of the West. So, I mean, everyone thinks Utah. Some people think Dallas. Some people think Sacramento. Some people think, New Orleans. So it's like Phoenix as well. So this is how I look at it. After the first month and a half of the year, that could tell you who's where. And I hate using the first month of the season to determine things, but in the West, if you don't have a good first month, you're kind of really not it's hard to project what you're going to do.
And
that's the problem.
The interesting thing with the Pelicans is they just snuck in last year, and that was with pretty much the same team, and always the assumption has been the coaching staff upgrade will make it all better. But I think not if the talent is getting more hurt and
right.
kind of teams figure out more ways to defend Anthony Davis. He's less of an enigma.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that kind of plays against them. And that it's also most teams are now going to be get up for Anthony Davis, whereas they may not have before.
Yeah, that's the thing. Pelicans kind of surprised last year in a way. So, teams are. It's almost like that team who you're kind of they have a really great player, but who cares? We'll just sleep. I don't want to diminish anything New Orleans did last year because basically, and I hate to say this, they got into the playoffs literally because Anthony Davis banked in a 3 against Oklahoma City. That's
only 3.
Yeah, that's the only reason they made the playoffs. So. I mean, that and they beat the Spurs on the last day of the season, which set up Spurs-Clippers. I'm still not happy about, but whatever. I mean, even though the Clippers won, but either way, that's for another time. New Orleans worries me. I've always been worried about them. I think I had them at 44 wins this year, and I didn't even feel good about that. So, I mean, it's really weird because tonight they play Orlando, and I think they're tipping off right now. But it's both of those teams are 0-3, but if I told you Orlando and New Orleans were 0-3, and you've seen both teams play, which team would you feel more comfortable saying you think they'd win that game? I'd say Orlando.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Orlando should have beaten Oklahoma City, but hey.
I think we've kept you long enough. Miles Turner seems to be doing things, so that may not happen for long.
Is he doing amazing things? I should go check.
Going off about Miles Turner. So.
I should go check the box score. Yeah, what's up?
Before we let you go, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I want to get your thoughts on the college football playoff rankings that were just released.
Someone told me I got a notification on Twitter because haven't had TweetDeck open for like 4 hours, but I just opened it and someone said don't get mad at Alabama because
Uh,
they
Top
and
8
yeah, I'm
is
looking at it right now.
okay. Yeah, Clemson, LSU, Ohio State, Alabama, Notre Dame, Baylor, Michigan State, TCU.
Okay, I'll just say this real quick. The first two teams are absolutely 100% correct. Everything after that is stupid. I don't understand why. Okay, I understand why Baylor is where they are, but that's one of your top four teams in college football this year, and the only reason they're so low is because their quarterback's now injured. So they should be three. TCU should be fourth or fifth. I don't agree having Alabama. In fact, I would have Stanford above Alabama. And Stanford's 11th, I see.
Yeah.
When Stanford wins the Pac-12 this year, which they will, Stanford's winning the Pac-12. When Stanford wins the Pac-12 this year, they're going to be a top four team. And then at the end of the season, we're going to wonder how they lost to Northwestern.
Yeah.
I hate how college football works. I just like watching kids play.
It's
Stop
dumb.
ranking things.
But
I've just
basically,
been watching SMU the whole time. They're fun.
I'll put it to you like this, Matt. November 28th, Stanford, Notre Dame, that's for a top four spot.
Yeah.
And then after that,
Maybe.
Stanford.
Will Pep
Stanford has to
Hamilton
play.
be there? Will Pep Hamilton be back in Stanford then? For then? Now he's no longer got a job.
He got fired
Maybe.
today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe he's going to go and ruin your Stanford takes. He's going to go back and call.
That's exactly what I need to be mad at. I mean, I'm not even a Stanford fan. I'm a USC fan, so it's kind of funny. But at the same time, it's like I just don't understand how Stanford hasn't made a title game yet, just because they pretty much bully whoever they play. But every year they have a stupid loss that makes no sense.
That's why the Pac-12 is so good, because there's like 5 different ways each team plays, so it just stresses you so much defensively because you have to face all these different teams.
Yeah, like Oregon has their high-powered offense. Stanford just has their "we're gonna bludgeon you until you die" offense. USC has the "we can bludgeon you and air it out" offense. UCLA has the same thing.
And
God.
Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona State, like it's Utah can bludgeon you. Yeah, Utah bludgeons people and can throw it a little bit. So it's kind of like we're just Pac-12 kills each other. So
And
I'm
Cal's got the best quarterback in the country.
and nothing else around him.
Yeah.
I mean, college football. I love college football. I also hate it. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting because the one thing to remember is I think LSU Alabama play each other this week, right?
I have no idea.
I think they do. Do they play each other this week? No, they do. Do they? I don't know. I'm sorry. No. They LSU plays A&M. Oh no, they do. They play Alabama this week. They play LSU Alabama's on Sunday or Saturday, excuse me. So after that game, we'll get a real clear indication of who deserves to be there. So I think LSU beats them. We'll see. But either way, I'm not even into college football right now. So I've been writing so much about the NBA and the Clippers that I stress myself out now because in the back room I have the film of yesterday's game that I have to take and export and put on my laptop so that I can chop up the film. And it's like I've been stressing about it all day because okay, real quick, when I go to bed, what I do is I start recording the League Pass off League Pass broadband of the game so that I can use the film room the next day, you know what I mean? And last night I fell asleep like an idiot and I woke up 9 hours later, so it was a 9-hour recording and it took so freaking long to buffer that that it won't be until just now that I can start editing. And I stopped recording at 9 a.m. So think about that.
To make you feel better, when I was at art school, I once made a 24-hour film, and so every time I had to edit it and buffer it, it was horrible.
Ooh, yeah. See, whew, I don't want to do that. if I didn't have to do the film room with actual video, like if I just used GIFs, it'd be so much easier. But I like using the video for some of the audio stuff. Like I feel like when you watch a video, there should be audio. You know what I mean? So.
I'm team mute football, so I'm not
Oh
exactly
man.
along that. And I would also mute after my experience of listening to a Clippers broadcast. I'm also
No, we're
mute
sorry.
Clippers games.
Yeah,
When
I
I was
like.
bruised.
Okay, Ralph Lawler is great.
Yeah, he's fine.
Like
But
it's Mike Smith. Everyone has a problem with Mike Smith. Like Ralph Lawler. Like I think at this stage it's kind of
unfortunately, you
like
can't mute one person.
right. It's funny because I think people just like people hear Ralph Lawler and they're like, you know what? He's just old and that's okay. Like you get it. Like you just kind of get it. And then other people they hear Mike Smith and it's like no, just no.
I think he said something like Rudy Gay is the best player to not make a All-Star game. It was
Oh
like
yeah, I heard that.
oh, I was like muted it. Then it's like you said some dumb things, but like just stop there.
It's like, yeah, Josh Smith has never made one. He was really good at Atlanta. You know, it's like, come on.
Kawhi Leonard is
Oh
pretty
yeah, Kawhi
incredible
Leonard.
right
Yeah.
now. It's like
Which I
should
can't even
Rudy
fault.
Gobert?
Well, I mean, Gobert needs to still improve on offense. So,
I don't know.
although have you seen the stat with him this year? It's pretty ridiculous.
He's just like
Um, like guys who are shooting around the rim when he's there are shooting 27%.
yeah,
That's ridiculous.
he's quite good.
And the Clippers passed on him. So I'm a little happy about that. Which is funny because I think if the Clippers don't pass on him, I think he's our starting center this year.
You can talk about a ton of people that the Kings have passed on, so we
That's
won't get
true.
into that.
Our
We won't get
franchises are probably littered in guys who were picked who shouldn't have been. So I get it.
I mean, you could even talk about people the Kings just let go. You could have Tyreek Evans, Isaiah Thomas. That'd be pretty fun.
Would you rather have that backcourt than what you have now? Because
I'd rather have Darren Collison and IT. That would be fun with
see,
George Karl.
I just don't like Isaiah Thomas in the like. I think he's a gifted player and scorer. I just don't like his defense because he doesn't guard anybody.
But then if you
But-
have him off the bench and you pay, I think like he's in the perfect role now where I think they're trying to make him play like 30 minutes where he just guns, and because he can gun at like a good click.
Yeah, and there's nobody else on that team who can get their own shot. So
Yeah. But I think him and DC would be fun, and you start DC.
I miss Collison so much.
He's really fun.
He is he's a blast.
Yeah.
He saved our season when Paul missed like 20 games. He saved our season.
And
Man.
I kind of thought he was going to ask for a trade, but he's taken to the bench really well. And like Carl has been, I've already talked about this, I think the last episode. Like he's been about how role is positive, and maybe that's like talking about like he's also been like really positive about Bellinelli, but then saying well he's definitely playing off the bench, and with Collison he's like he has to be a leader off the bench, and like he's got to lead that unit. We need like and saying like we need him to be the bench. So he's like kind of sold as like this is like this is more important for you to do this than to be like the third fiddle on the start with the starters.
Yeah, and I think that's where Collison fits. He just didn't fit there off the bench with the Clippers, primarily because he had to play with Jamal Crawford, and no one can play with Jamal Crawford. So, yeah, like because Collison needs the ball in his hands. I mean, he can spot up, but at the same time, you know.
And Bellinelli taking the ball out of his hands, how much Bellinelli gets to play with the ball in his hands, I didn't really expect that at all.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to keep seeing. Because Collison's pretty good, like he's pretty lethal from the corners.
Yeah,
so
Collison's
there
good.
is kind of some bonus to having him off ball.
Whew. All right, I gotta get going.
Okay.
As always, it's been a blast.
Thanks for joining us.
No problem, man. I don't mind talking about the Kings. You guys know me. I watch a ton of basketball, so.
Or hopefully they'll be good for past the All-Star break for once. That's all I'm hoping for.
when do we play you guys again? Do you guys know?
I have no idea. I guess it would be for a while, just because 2 games in
I
a
don't
row
like the
must
fact.
be.
I don't like the fact we played twice already. January
Uh,
16th. That's the next game.
okay.
And actually, we do not play like
Kind of see some adjustment.
January 16th and then February 26th, and we're done. We do not see each other in March or April.
See, I kind of like seeing them early, just for like clarity on like roles and adjustments. So it's kind of nice to see like a consistent opposition, just to kind of get an idea of the party,
Yeah, yeah.
kind of, and then Boogie going down, kind of murky that water.
You guys have a really weird schedule. Okay, so real quick, and
Yeah.
then we'll get going. January 14th, you're at Utah. January 16th, you're at the Clippers. January 20th, you're at the Lakers. So you're at Staples Center for 2 games, but you're off on the 17th, 18th, and 19th, and you're still in LA.
And we've got a Mexico game as well at some point. There's a lot of stuff going on.
I feel like that would be a game against Milwaukee on February 1st.
Could be. I think it might be, yeah.
The only reason I'm guessing that is because it's NBA TV, and I feel like that would be something NBA TV shows.
I'm pretty sure, I think it is. I'll just check. Oh no, it's Celtics.
Celtics.
Yeah.
Oh. When is that game? Do you know? December 3rd.
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting. Well, I guess that makes sense because they give you guys.
There's kind of a couple. There's like a 4-day break or something, isn't there?
Yeah, because you have to get used to that altitude. Because Mexico City is like 7,000 feet above sea level or something.
Well, that should be fun. So at least they're not playing Denver there.
Yeah, well, think about that. It's literally 2,000 miles above Denver, and like if you had to play the Nuggets, that would be unfair. You know?
It was like a Denver back-to-back, one in Denver, one in Mexico.
Oh, that'd be brutal. Actually, Denver should be the only team. Denver should be the only team that plays in Mexico City. That should be the only team that plays. Man, but
or they're like
right,
Atlantis.
Oh yeah, that'd be
Alright,
funny.
well, thanks for joining us.
No problem, guys. You guys take it easy.
Alright, take care. Matt, do you want to have any passing words, as you've been awfully quiet?
No, I mean, I think we've covered a lot of topics today. I mean, real quick, because Kings have a lot of games, you want to just give a quick prediction of how you think they do in those games?
The next 4, I'm going to go 2-2. So I think they beat the Suns. No, I think they beat the Grizzlies and the Rockets. Actually, hell, I'll just go mad. I think they're going to win 3-1. So they only lose to the Golden State Warriors. I think the Grizzlies might be a bit too hurt. Like Zebo just looks bad. They're coming off a back-to-back, even though they don't really get the advantage. Well, we don't really get the advantage of a back-to-back because of them getting blown out. Their starters didn't really play that much. And yeah, they just look rough. So I think the Kings can win that. Then maybe they lose the Suns just because it's away, and a back-to-back. And then hopefully it'll be interesting what they do with Boogie, whether they try and save him for Golden State Warriors or they play him like the front half of a back-to-back. But the Rockets look pretty rough at the moment, so I'll take they go 2-2. Yeah, I'll not go so wild. So what's your prediction?
Yeah, we'll also have a game Monday against San Antonio. So I'll say 3-2. I think that they'll win the first 3. As for Boogie, I mean,
Monday, that game? Okay, because it's Tuesday morning here, so that's why my calendar's wrong. It's 3 a.m. here on Tuesday.
Wow. Yeah, as for Boogie, yeah, the 2-game timetable was what was set, but I think with the back-to-back and just it being an Achilles, want to be careful. I think we'll see it stretch into 3, maybe 4, just give them the week.
Yeah, I think I'll lose the Spurs game as well, so I'll go 2-3.
Yeah.
Which will be good. I think before we talked about like if they can win 3 games out of this beginning 10, that's like a good start.
Yeah.
So at least they got the win they should have got out the way.
Yep, definitely. Anything else we want to talk about before we wrap up?
I guess just like the one thing, I think we talked about this in kind of reaction to what I think James Ham had talked about, where like, or maybe it was Aaron Bruski on their podcast where they talked about this is a team now that can potentially win some games without Boogie, and then that may help Boogie develop somewhat or like become more responsible because he's not the like they can win without him type thing. So if they can win without him, maybe that's would be kind of like a good strong statement to him as well that we don't need you, but we look how good we can be with you playing your best with us like this. So
definitely. Kind of like, when he went down, it was unlike last year where you're like, well, that's it. It's just tough. But I mean, the pieces are in place where, for a few stretches of games, you can fight. You can probably win a few against some teams that are around your grouping, like not the top tier teams, but the mid tier teams. And just once he comes back, if he can see, these guys. I mean, maybe he doesn't need to give that. I don't want to say energy because he's bringing energy, but he doesn't need to go to the wall on everything because he knows that he has guys around him where he doesn't have to do it all.
I don't think that's ever going to change, but then maybe I don't think that will change, but maybe it just kind of like makes him kind of like a little happier. I think just winning would make him happy as well.
Yeah.
I guess the concern with Boogie out is like how much isolation do we see, and that's just always the worry if like Rudy becomes ball dominant and isolation dominant. So that's kind of the thing I don't want to see. But I guess this is a Rudy and Kufos revenge match, so that'll be good.
Yeah.
Right.
And so game tips off in about 2 hours. Actually, 90 minutes.
So I've got some time to try and stay awake.
Yeah, definitely. So before we go, do want to thank Justin for coming on again. On Twitter, be sure to follow him at FlyByNight, FLYBYKNIT. As said, he does some great stuff on the Clippers for SB Nation, but just does a lot of coverage on NBA as well. A lot of great tweets. So be sure to follow Justin. And even if you're a
always
troll,
tweeting.
Yeah, even if you're a troll and you want to mess with him, just get in his mentions and say crazy things. That's probably the best thing you can do, and we'd really appreciate it. All right, so I think for the Sac Off podcast, that's going to wrap up our weekly edition here. We will be back next week talking about a very busy week of games. We got 5 on the slate as mentioned, so there will be a lot to talk about. So I want to thank you all for listening, and have a great night.